to the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial now, where police officer Patrick Mtetwa wrapped up his testimony today. Mtetwa yesterday told the court how the crime scene looked like nothing happened when he arrived at the Slindelo home where Meyiwa was shot and killed. Some parts of Mtetwa's statements contradicted what the first witness, Thabo Mosia, stated. Slindelo Masikane has been following developments in court and she joins me now. Slindelo, Mtetwa is done testifying. What came out of court today?
Well, we saw Sergeant Mtetwa once more under cross-examination, this time by Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who really drilled down to some of the nitty-gritty issues around how the crime scene was handled by the first responding officers, Mtetwa being one of them, really talking about how they were not skilled enough, how they were still junior officers at the time, they were constables, and that essentially they left the crime scene open to be contaminated and in fact cleaned. She had read out 2 witness statements coming from the neighbours who were also present on that evening, and they describe how at the moment at which police were not there, we know that Mtetwa initially arrived with 3 of his colleagues. They then proceeded to the hospital, leaving the uncle that they found at the crime scene there with the keys to the house. And it seems that at some point the neighbours gained access. Let's take a listen to those statements.
Paragraph 15. Maggie Piri started to pick up the empties from the floor. I asked her why she tidying up before the police could arrive. Do you see that? The police arrived and cordoned off the scene with the tapes. They closed the gate with the tapes and instructed all people to go out of the yard. Did you get that, Sergeant?
Yes, I did.
It's you who cordoned off the crime scene.
Yes, it was.
And it was in your second visit when you cordoned off the crime scene.
No,
just answer the question. You cordoned off the crime scene when you came for the second time from the hospital.
Yeah. That's correct.
And before you arrived, the crime scene was cleaned. Before you arrived to cordon off the crime scene, it was cleaned.
Is that the statement?
Yes.
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Slindelo, what do we know about Kelly Khumalo's mother, Gladness, and her role?
Well, what we do know is that when Mtetwa and his colleagues left the scene and proceeded to the hospital, that is where they were met by Kelly Khumalo's mother, who they found inside the hospital. But it seems that when they were driving in, they did spot the BMW that we understand transported Senzo Meyiwa to the hospital. And inside, it seems Kelly Khumalo herself was still in the car and indicated to the police that Senzo Meyiwa had been shot and killed. Mtetwa had also told us yesterday that in fact he had gone into the room in which Meyiwa's body was lying in and had noticed a gunshot wound. He says that they had asked Kelly Khumalo's mother Gladness to then go back with them to the house to just describe and understand exactly what happened. And this is what Kelly Khumalo's mother had to say in terms of what had happened in the house.
Yes, she did. She introduced herself as Makhumalo.
Okay, what else did she say?
At the hospital.
After introducing herself to you.
Oh,
we then made a request to her that we would like to go back to the scene with her so that she could explain to us as to what happened.
Continue.
And as we were traveling, my lord, that's when he then conveyed to us that 2 men entered. They were having firearms, or one of them was having a firearm. No, I'm not certain anymore whether both were having firearms or only one of them had a firearm.
Slindelo, it's believed that next week we'll hear testimony from someone who was in the house on the night of Senzo Meyiwa's murder. Tell us about who we'll be hearing from.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you who it is, but I can definitely tell you that we understand that it is going to be somebody who is going to be, who was one of those who was in the house when Senzo Meyiwa was shot. Of course, we understand that the defense has actually been pushing to get those testimonies in, and it seems as though that wish is going to be granted when we resume with proceedings next week, Monday, and we will be sitting until the end of the week.
Thank you very much for that update from the Senzo Meyiwa trial. That was eNCA's Slindelo Masikane.